So today I want to talk about overcoming fear and self-doubt as an artist. As an artist who's had a pretty close relationship with fear throughout my life and anxiety and things like that, and letting that kind of like get in the way of my creativity, my artistry, my career. I thought this was a good topic to discuss because I feel like a lot of people deal with fear and self-doubt, especially as artists. We tend to be overthinkers and like really, really in our heads a lot. Don't let fear hold you back and keep you from living your life. As someone who has been a creative like most of my life, I didn't even know that like having a creative career was something that was possible. I feel like growing up, it was like very clear that you had like so many options for your career and what you would be in your future life. And being an artist was like not on my radar. It was something that actually happened like much later. But obviously, eventually, I ended up deciding that I wanted a creative career. And I'm really glad that I did that because I feel like it's very aligned with where I am supposed to be. And I feel like that's like the first instance in my life where I made a decision for myself in deciding that I really wanted to have a career as an artist and as a creative. And I don't even look at it like a career per se. I look at it like just a way of being, and my way of life is just who I am. And I feel like having a career or a lifestyle that was really aligned, closely aligned with who I am was has always been really important for me. And I feel like maybe even that is like the first step, was like my first step of like overcoming fear and self-doubt and like instead going after my dream life, so to speak. I will say after school, you have those like scary moments once you graduate where it's like, what now? And I was in a space where I knew I wanted to like work for myself and create my own business, but there was a lot of fear and self-doubt and things like that that were like coming into play that I feel like really influenced my decision when it came to my career path and my career journey. So after I feel like I want to say it was maybe like a year and a half after I graduated school before I got my first like big girl job in the creative industry. I actually started off as like an intern at a digital marketing agency. And at the time, I didn't, I feel like I didn't really necessarily want to have that type of job or career per se. I always kind of wanted to work for myself, but I feel like that was not something that I thought of as an option. You know what I mean? I feel like we all had those moments where we have things that we really want for our life or dreams that we have, and either maybe the people around us can't really see the vision, or even ourselves can't believe that it's possible. And so we kind of like take a detour towards what we believe is possible. And it's something I actually want to get into because I feel like it ties really nicely into this like conversation and this talk that I'm trying to have around like overcoming fear and self-doubt and how it can really get in the way and kind of like sometimes take you on a little detour. I had my first like big girl job as an intern, which it really wasn't like an intern. It was me being like a regular employee, but I I feel like I knew early on that that it wasn't like a fit, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like super comfortable. It just didn't feel like this was where I was supposed to be. But I thought that was what I was supposed to be doing. 'Cause that's what they say, you go to college, you graduate, you get a job. And in my mind, that's like the path, right? Having your own business is not something that I heard a lot about growing up. It was very much like college, job. Okay, now you have a job. You're a big girl now. So, but I feel like for a while, it was really exciting though. Like I gained a lot of experience. I learned a lot from that experience, which was really, really good. And it actually kind of helped shape and mold me in the ways that I work as in a creative, as a freelancer, as a business, all these different things, all these other like different areas and aspects of my life. It really did kind of like help me because it was like almost like I was training to run my own business, if that makes sense. It was actually really helpful, even though it wasn't something that I saw myself doing, even though it was a little bit of a detour, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was really supposed to do this. Maybe this was just a part of that journey and chapter of my life, and figuring out what I really wanted. Sometimes maybe you do just have to kind of be in a situation to realize like, oh, I actually don't really want this. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But I feel like I knew for a while before I actually did leave that job that I did not want to be there anymore. I knew it and I was like afraid to like make the move. And then it ended up being a situation where I had like health issues that kind of like influenced my departure from that particular job. And it was like almost like I don't want to say do or die situation, but kind of in a way. That's what it felt like at the time. I was like, I actually have to really choose myself now and step away and like focus on myself. So even before that period of time, I knew that I did not want to be there anymore. You know what I mean? I feel like we've all had situations where we know there's something that we want to be doing. We know that there's um that we may not be in the right space, even if we try to ignore it. And I ignored it for a long time. And even when I couldn't ignore it anymore, I was like, well, I got to do something. And I wasn't doing it. It was almost like I was in like this, I don't want to say paralysis, but that's what it felt like. It was like I was so scared to move forward that I just didn't do anything. I was scared to make a move, even though I knew I wanted to do something else with my life. I was just so fearful to the point where I just did not do anything. And then it just became a whole thing. So, that was like one of the first moments that I can look back on, especially in my creative journey, my creative career, where I kind of let fear run the show. And it's so weird talking about this now because I don't even know if this is even helpful to people, just sharing like my journey as a creative, but maybe it is. But it's a part of my journey, and I feel like it's important to share when I talk about like overcoming fear as an artist and the different ways that fear can show up in your career, whether that's, self-doubt, um, low confidence about things, or not really moving forward, staying stagnant. It can show up in so many different ways that we don't even really realize it. I feel like fear is at the root of like a lot of different things that we don't really notice or realize. You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes fear can cloud our judgment, it could cloud our dreams, it could delay our dreams, even, unfortunately, if we don't like take a step and like do something about it to like overcome that. So that was like one of the first instances where I became aware of like the fear of like the fear of being wrong, I guess, the fear of making the wrong move, questioning myself, right? Questioning my intuition. Intuition is such like a big part of ourselves and that's ingrained in us is like having that intuition, that what do you call it? It's like that like inner navigation system, so to speak. We tend to ignore it. I guess I'll speak for myself, but I feel like it's a thing that's pretty common. Like sometimes you tend to like ignore it and like because you don't fully trust and believe it almost. Like you can feel this thing inside you. Like for me, for instance, I knew I wanted to move on to something else and do something else, even if I didn't fully know exactly what it was. I just knew it wasn't this. But I was almost too afraid to like accept that almost, or too afraid to like question it or like dig deeper into it, because my next step would be like, okay, so now what do we do? Like we know we don't want to do this, but like I was too afraid to even allow myself to like fully dream like the biggest dreams, right? And oh, that's a whole nother topic that I want to talk about. We'll get there in a different video. So I feel like um, I was almost forced in a situation where I had to move on to a different company, right? The whole health, like I was having like different health issues and stuff like that. So I had to kind of like take a step away, like focus on myself. So then I started to work from home. So then I started to work from home for another company, like fully remote work. And that was really good because it allowed me a lot more freedom with my time in a way. and I'll get to that as well. It did allow me more freedom with my time, more freedom with my day. And it was almost like I was taking these stepping stones to be where I wanted to be. And there's nothing wrong with like working different jobs at different stages in your career, because I do feel like it's a part of those building blocks that are like building you up as a creative in a way. Like you learn a lot, especially from the business side of things. If a creative career is what you want, it is kind of helpful to have like those like lessons as opposed to trying to learn by yourself sometimes. Like being able to learn from different businesses, especially like smaller businesses and smaller agencies, which is the type of jobs that I had at the time. It was a lot. You know how it is when you work at like smaller companies, it's a lot of people doing a lot of things. And I had a lot of roles. Like in those both of those agencies that I worked with, I was like the only designer really, honestly. And like I was focused on other things. It wasn't just design. I will say this, I learned a lot from a business aspect that it's really kind of helped me. And that was good. So it wasn't anything that I regretted. I would just say that because I don't regret anything. But we're getting on track. Okay, so yeah. When it came to the point with my next job, even though it was fully remote, it was really helpful and useful because I learned a lot, but I was just like so stressed out and so burnt out. And again, I have these feelings again of like, "Well, I want to be doing something else. I really want my own business. I want to do my own thing." But I was just so scared to do it. It's so scared to make the leap. While I had kind of transitioned from one role in one agency to another, even though it was closer to where I wanted to be, um, it still wasn't fully there because again, fear was playing like a big role in a lot of my decision making. And so looking back on it now, I think I would have navigated things a lot differently. But I think that's just a part of growth. It's just a part of growth and learning and living life. You can't always see things, with 2020 vision. I eventually did end up leaving that company. Again, like health stuff, like I just needed to focus on myself. But when I did leave that job, I took the time to kind of like focus on my own spiritual healing, emotional healing, physical healing, like literally holistic healing, and doing a lot of work on myself, building myself up. Like this has been a years long process of going on this like journey, this healing journey, where it started off as like a physical healing journey, but it really has been like more of a like spiritual journey and just like a self-healing journey in itself. And so part of that, I've been able to like discover this different aspects of myself and different things about myself that I wasn't able to fully see before. And one of those things is the amount of fear that I held within. And it's obviously something that I'm still working on, obviously, because it's not something that just goes away overnight. It's something that does require work. But one thing I have been able to recognize is I let fear in the past, I let fear like rule my life. It was running the show. You want to think about like if I can think about the metaphor of like driving a car, and you have different parts of yourself, right? You have different parts of like whether it's your ego, your higher self, fear, doubt, whatever it is, right? Fear was driving the car. Fear was driving us. Like where are we going? I don't know. Oh, I think about what's that movie Inside Out 2 when anxiety was running the show, making bad decisions. It felt good at the time, but it's just like, what do you call it when you look back in hindsight, right? In hindsight, I see like the different moves and decisions that I was making was kind of keeping me from being where I wanted to be. So that's like the little like backstory about different parts of my life as far as like a creative. And I want to say to just take a minute and like just think about your own personal journey as a creative in different areas of your life. Have you operated from a space of fear? It happens. And if you clicked on this video, the probably, yeah, you have at different points because you could relate to this in some way. And it's important to not like beat yourself up for decisions you made in the past, or even if you operated from a space of fear, or even if you're doing that right now. Like the thing that I can say is like the main takeaway is to work on how to like build up your confidence, so to speak. Build up your connection with your higher self, with yourself, your body, your your spirit. Like I feel like it is more of like a holistic solution. Just stay with me. So, excuse me. That confirmation burp. It is like it's not like a one size fits all solution. You kind of have to go with figure out what works best for you. So I can only speak about my own personal thing. So that when I realized, and it took a long time for me to realize this, when I realized that fear was really like running the show, I was like, oh, I could look back at all these different instances, and not just in my career or at me as a creative, just in my life in general. Um, a lot of decisions I feel like I might have made out of fear. And a lot of that influences different aspects of life. So I'm thinking about like the different times where I may have played small or doubted myself. And I'm still dealing with stuff like even to this day, it is still things that I'm realizing like, oh, I think that's fear kind of like coming in and trying to like take over. And it you just kind of have to like not let it happen. Like it can influence like your confidence in who you are as an artist, who you are as a creative, your career decisions, business decisions, even how you get clients, how you price your work, how you price yourself, how you show up online and even in marketing and even decisions that you make in your business. When you let fear kind of like run the show, it like almost is like it's almost like a veil or something, right? Where you can't fully see the full vision. And that was one of the things that I noticed. I'm like, I was in a space where I'm like, I'm not even allowing myself to fully dream, right? To like dream fully my biggest dreams because of fear and all these questionings and self-doubt and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, why is that? Can I just like allow a space for myself to like just dream? And that was like one of the starting points for me. Once that realization hit that the fear was so rampant that I wasn't even allowing myself the space to like dream. You know what I mean? And if I can't even allow myself the space and the comfort within my own mind and my own body to just dream, then that's not good. Something's wrong. And so I kind of had to just give myself space to do that. And whenever that fear and anxiety and that questioning and that self-doubt, because that's all like a part of it, whenever it would come up, I would just like push it to the side. Like, let's keep this going. And as creatives, obviously we're creative people. So we're dreamers, right? And so think about all the different times in your life where you've had a dream that you silenced, whether it's your own voice, inner voice silencing it, or if it's people in your life silencing those dreams. And maybe they don't mean any harm. Maybe they just aren't able to see what you see. I think about different points in my life where I may have had dreams and ideas and things that I wanted to do, but like I looked for validation in other people around me instead of looking within myself. And you can't expect other people to see your dreams the way you see them because it's not for them to see. It's for you. It's for you to see those dreams and go after them and put them into action. And so I think a lot of times fear and relying on fear is just like another way for you to kind of like relinquish your self power, your self control, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like a way for you to relinquish your power and be like, well, I'm not driving the show, so if it goes wrong, like if it goes wrong, I didn't do it. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. But I feel like one of the greatest things that you can do to overcome fear and self-doubt is to, first of all, like spend more time with yourself, without a lot of distractions, just like getting to know yourself, even just talking to yourself, if that makes sense. And another thing I will say, oh, it was right there and it went away. Can we find it? What was it? I can't remember what I was gonna say. Um, but I will say, I feel like allow yourself to dream is another thing that you can do, and write down those dreams. Write them down. Even if you don't feel like, writing, just like recording something, recording an audio note, voice note, a video to yourself, something for yourself. Make time and space for yourself to fully like dream up like the dreamiest dream. I don't care how old you are. Allow yourself to dream like as big as you want. And whenever that fear and doubt comes in and creeps in and tries to limit those dreams, like you just push it to the side and you say, not now, and keep dreaming and write it down, say it, speak it, record it, whatever, and go back and read it or watch that thing. Have it for yourself. And whenever you need that reminder, go read that thing, go watch that thing. Um, Because fear, I feel like fear would try to like tell us a story that is not the most positive and is not true. A lot of the times it's just not true. So if you can go back to that part of yourself where you allowed yourself to get into that space of flow and calm, and if someone had just like look at it like this, someone had a magic wand and be like, I am here for you to serve you. What would you like? Boop, say it, write it down. That's the best way I can look at it because there's no expectations, right? It's no if there's no expectations, if there's no rule. I like to do this thing. I have this thing that I like to do. I tend to approach situations sometimes, and I would like, okay, in a perfect world, XYZ, this will happen, right? Do that and put that somewhere and let that be a reminder to you of what you really truly want when there is no fear involved, when there is no self-doubt involved, when there's not any of that involved. And this is, I feel like this started off being a video about fear and overcoming fear as an artist, as a creative, but I feel like it's actually bigger than that when I think about it. And this all applies to not just your creative life, your creative journey, and your art, but just like life in general. Even when it comes to your art, a lot of times I know as artists, we tend to like doubt things or we're like really hypercritical of our creations and our art sometimes. I I challenge you to look at your art from a different lens. Look at your journey from a different lens, your creative journey, your creative path, and the things that you've made from a different lens. And sometimes you will find that maybe you have been very hypercritical and you're actually further along than you feel like you are. You know what I mean? So I will say, if fear has been running the show in your life for a while, just take a moment to say, thank you. You served a purpose up until this point. I thank you and I let you go. Because once you realize how much you have been like held back by fear, you will realize like how much further you can go. Think about that. Ask yourself, how much further can I go? I had a thing that I wrote one time when all these realizations started to set in. It was I want to see if I can find it, but I might be able to remember. It was, what would my life look like? Wait, I have it. Hold on. I can't find it. I can't find it, but I can remember. It was essentially, I'm paraphrasing, like what would my life look like if it wasn't ruled by fear? What would I do if I was completely unafraid? What would I do if there was no anxiety, no doubt, no fear, if those things did not exist? And I know it may be hard to get there, but you can just like kind of like visualize and take that away from the equation. Like, what would my life look like? What would I do? Who would I be? What would be my next step? You know what I mean? And so if you can get to that point, it may take some journaling exercises, if you can get to that point where you start to ask yourself these questions, you'll realize like, oh, there's so much I can do. If you think about it, do you know how much energy it takes to live with fear and anxiety and all these things? That takes up so much energy. We only have so much energy every day, right? Think about how much of your energy that is taking up. And if you remove that from the equation, think about how much more energy you have to use to like fuel your dreams. You know what I mean? Ooh, that's another quote. What would I think that was one of the ones I wrote down. What would my life look like if instead of feeding my fears, I instead fueled my dreams? All of that energy and stuff I put into like thinking about and worrying about things and anxiety, fear, all this stuff. What if I just shifted my focus to the things that I do want for my life? What if I put my energy and my time and my attention on those things, not just with your art and your creativity in your career, because that's also important, because I feel like sometimes when you create from a space of like inspiration and like this like feeling of like hopefulness, I guess, if that makes sense, create so many beautiful things. So I ran out of space. And this is how I know this video is too long. I ran out of space. So let me just wrap this up. The main thing that I want to say here, don't let fear keep you from living life. Don't let fear keep you from living your dream life. I think that's what I'm really trying to say. As creatives, yes, we are very visual people. So visualize your dream life. Visualize where you want to be in your career, in your artistry, in just life in general. What does it look like? Don't let the fear and self-doubt keep you from achieving those things. Like, I feel like sometimes it's easy to like forget your dreams. I feel like sometimes, like, just the day-to-day life in general can make it really hard to like remember, like, oh yeah, I actually have these dreams and goals and desires. Like, we get distracted, if that makes sense. And so I feel like fear and overthinking, self-doubt, all of those things, those are like a part of the things that kind of keep us from like going after what we want. So if I can just say, if there's one thing I can say, it's just like, don't let fear be the thing that stops you from living. Don't let fear be the things that stop you from dreaming. You have to keep dreaming. You have to keep living. You're still here, right? You're still here. There's still more time. Make it count. Go after the things that you want, because you deserve to live a beautiful life. You deserve to live your dream life. You deserve to live a life that makes you happy. You deserve to create art that makes you happy. You deserve that. Like, you deserve good things. If you want a successful career as an artist, put your focus and your time and attention on achieving that, not focusing on all of the potential roadblocks and the, oh, well, I can't do this because of this, and I can't do that, and this ain't don't put so much attention and focus on that, because that's that self-doubt that will keep you small and keep you from like living in alignment with your destiny and who you were meant to be. If there's anything that you could take away from this video, I think it's that. Don't let fear get in the way of living and being in alignment with your destiny, because you're here for a reason and you have all these beautiful creative gifts for a reason. Share them, put them to good use. Um, don't let fear stop you from creating. Don't let self-doubt stop you from creating new art and new things. Don't let fear and self-doubt stop. Don't let fear and self-doubt keep you from like trying new things creatively and experimenting and exploring, because that may be the thing that just moves you into alignment with your dream life. Maybe it's not the path that you have kind of like envisioned for yourself initially. Because if you think about it, sometimes that path was influenced by the version of you that let fear and self-doubt kind of run the show. Like, if you just take a look at things and be like, maybe it's time to dream up a new life. Maybe it's time to dream up like a new creative vision for my life, if that makes sense. So, what's that song? We're gonna switch the words up. Hold on. We'll switch words up. Fear don't live here anymore. That's the magic gem for the day. I haven't been doing that, I feel like, lately in my videos, my little positive affirmations I like to do. But that's what we're gonna do. Fear don't live here no more. And I'm gonna write it down. They say write it down and make it plain. And we're gonna put this. I need a mark. Okay. I want you to get out a little post-it note, something, paper, marker. Okay, and we're gonna write this down together. Fear don't live here no more. Excuse my writing. My handwriting is not gonna be the best right now. Fear don't live here no more or anymore. Whatever your grammar, do makes you happy there. Write it how you speak it. Because you're gonna look at this every day. Fear don't live here no more. You can't see it, can you? Fear don't live here no more, okay? And we're gonna take this and you're gonna put it somewhere where you can see it every day. Actually, I'm gonna put mine right here on my workstation. But just somewhere where you can see it. I'm gonna put it here. But for the purposes of this video, put it somewhere where you can see it every day. And I want you to wake up in the morning and before you go to bed, even midday, however many times you gotta look at it, and you just read it. Fear don't live here no more. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's really long. And I try to get to a space where I like try to make shorter videos, but once I start talking, I just start talking and rambling. So I hope you stuck around. If you made it this far, put that in the comments. Fear don't live here no more or anymore. Whatever, however you say it. But I say it like that. So put that in the comments. Fear don't live here no more. Fear does not live here anymore. However you want to say it. Let that be the affirmation for today and claim it. You deserve to live your dream life. If no one's told you that, I'm telling you that. You deserve to live your dream life. You deserve to live a beautiful, happy, joyous, luscious, abundant life. Okay? I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. Don't forget that. Okay? You deserve great things. And we're not letting fear, anxiety, self-doubt, any of that stuff get in the way of our dreams anymore. Okay? And I'm saying that to myself too. So, yeah, it's a message for me too. So I hope this was helpful and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Sending you all lots of love. Take a moment to yourself and journal or, meditate or whatever, and really like kind of like ingrain that message, you deserve great things. So don't let fear stop the show. Okay? All right, y'all. Peace.